If I was to start trading in 2025, I wouldn't start with the indicators. I wouldn't even start with a strategy. I would start with mastering the one thing that most traders ignore, because without it, nothing else works. The truth is, the habits that you build in the beginning decide whether you even last a year in this game. Bad habits, they creep in fast, and once they take hold, they'll run your account to the ground or be a weight on your shoulder for years. I've watched guys make 6 figures in a month and they pace it all away because they couldn't control their own brain. You don't crash because the market hates you, you crash and burn because you're doing dumb shit on repeat. That's why I put this video together. I want to save you the headaches and wasted years that I went through. I'm going to lay out the exact habits I'd build if I were starting today. This isn't a theory. These are hard lessons that I paid for. I blew money and I journaled every screw up. I tested non-stop until I found what actually works. You can treat this like another free YouTube video and just click off it, or you can actually listen, because the difference between those two choices is whether you keep bleeding capital or you finally give yourself a real shot. The market doesn't care about your dreams. It only punishes your sloppy execution. If you stick with me until the end of this video, I'll give you one habit almost nobody talks about. The habit that flips everything and changes the whole game. So let me hit on one of the first critical habits I get asked about all the time. The question usually goes like this: Anthony, why do beginners take so many random trades? Why do we keep pressing buy and sell all day like crack addicts chasing another hit? And trust me, it hits home because I've been there. I've been the crack addict pressing the button over and over and over again. But let's change that. Back when I started, I would open up the charts as early as 7 a.m. and I wouldn't close my laptop until like 10 p.m. Yeah, you heard that right. 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I figured if I wasn't in a trade, I was missing out. So I'd sit there and I'd take 10 trades, one after another, all in a single day, praying that one of them just made me some money. I thought more trades, they meant more chances to win. But all it ended up doing was draining my energy and my account. Instead of growing like I wanted to, I was basically just giving my money away to the market. Here's the math that nobody tells you. Let's say you've got a $500 account and you're risking $50 per trade. That's 10% of your account. By the way, you take 10 random trades in a day with a 1-to-1 risk to reward, and even if you win 5 and you lose 5, you're still negative because of commissions, spreads, and swaps. That means you can do everything right in your head and still end the week bleeding out. That's how overtrading wipes out traders. Not because the market is unfair, but because you never defined what an actual A+ setup looked like. The change for me came when I finally stopped taking random shit trades and only touched the clean, high probability setups that matched my proven strategy with multiple confirmation. Here's the question I ask myself now. If I had a $100,000 account, would I still take this trade? If the answer is no, then don't freaking touch it. If the answer is yes, that's probably an A+ setup. That filter alone flipped my entire trading game. But don't sit there thinking you're off the hook just because you're not over trading anymore. That's only the surface. The deeper problem, the one that keeps draining traders year after year, is what's going on in your head every time you sit down in front of that screen. You can have the cleanest setups in the world, but if your mind is chasing money instead of building habits, you're already screwed. That's the next habit we've got to rip apart. People say, Anthony, why do I feel like the harder I chase profits, the further they get away? And that right there is the heart of why so many traders burn out. You can have the cleanest charts in the entire world, but if your brain is wired to obsess over the dollar amount, you're not ready. I used to wake up every morning thinking, how much can I pull out of the markets today? And that was the first thought in my head before I even had coffee. And what did that do? It made me treat trading like a slot machine. I'd load up my screen, stare at every tick, and convince myself the next move had to be my payday. It never worked, and the more I chased, the further it ran from me. The truth is that people forget money is just a scoreboard. It's not the game. It's how your performance is tracked. The actual game is building the habits and your processes that you can repeat day after day. That's called a strategy. Think about it like fitness. If you stand on this scale every single morning, praying the number drops, you'll drive yourself insane. But if you just focus on eating right, showing up to the gym, and being consistent, those results will follow naturally. Trading works the exact same way. You need to put the reps in. When you obsess over the scoreboard, you end up creating these terrible habits. Things that may cause damage to your body in the long term. You start measuring your worth by how much you made or lost that day instead of whether you actually executed your plan. And if you're still measuring your worth by how much you made or lost that day, it traps you in a cycle of stress and emotional decision making. That cycle destroys traders faster than any bad indicator ever will. The crazy part is most people don't even realize it's happening happening. They think if I just make enough money this week, I'll finally feel like a real trader. But that feeling never comes because that bar is gonna keep moving up. You hit one goal, then immediately raise it. And before long, you're stuck in a treadmill that never stops. And it's exhausting. And it kills careers before they even start. So here's the real shift. Stop asking, what did I make today? And start asking, did I follow my strategy today? That single question separates the gamblers from the pros. Because the money, that's just the shadow. It only shows up when you're locked in on real work. And stick around, because at the end of this video, I'm sharing the one habit that almost nobody teaches. The one that rewired how I trade. And let me tell you, when this one clicked, everything about my trading career changed. And here's the part most traders never want to hear. You can have the right mindset, you can stop chasing money, but if you don't respect the numbers, the game will chew you up anyways. And at the end of the day, trading is math. It's risk, reward, percentages, and capital management. That's really it. And people who last aren't the ones with the fanciest charts. They're the ones who treat every trade like a business decision. So let's dig into that, because this is where the traders who finally get to wake up. The next thing I always get asked is, Anthony, how do I actually make trading sustainable instead of random luck? And the answer is boring as hell, but it's kind of the truth. Simple math. Most people think trading is all about calling tops and bottoms. It's not. It's managing numbers so probability does all the heavy lifting for you. When I finally stopped obsessing over being right and started obsessing over how much I was risking compared to how much I could make, that's the whole game changer. I didn't need to predict the market. I just needed the setups where the reward was bigger than the risk. Once I locked that in, I didn't care if I lost 6 trades in a row. I knew the math would catch me when the wins came in. Here's the breakdown. Let's say you're risking $100 on a trade. If your target is 3 times that, $300, you don't need to win half the time to grow. You could be wrong 65% of the time and still come out ahead. That's the expectancy. That's the edge. It's not about being right every day. It's about setting up your numbers so being wrong still works in your favor. And this is where consistent positioning size matters. Risking 1% per trade keeps everything uniform. It means every loser is controlled and every winner has room to shine. I started risking just 1% with a 1 to 5 risk to reward, which meant losing streaks barely scratched me, but winning streaks stacked up like crazy. That's when my account actually started compounding. Traders blow years chasing shortcuts instead of locking into this reality. You don't need a secret indicator. You need a proven process that repeats itself. A small account won't turn into 6 figures overnight, but if you can stack consistent wins with smart risk, it will grow. Professionals, they know this is a long-term game. That's why hedge funds, they size carefully. They stick to their risk and let compounding do the work, because the math always wins if you let it. And let's clear this up. Losses aren't punishments. They're the cost of entry. That's what too many people forget. Every controlled loss is just you buying a ticket for the chance at a higher reward. Once you see it like that, losses stop feeling so personal and they start feeling like a business expense. The mindset shift frees you to trade the system instead of chasing revenge. Don't chase being right. Chase stacking the numbers in your favor. Start being the trader who stacks numbers in their own favor. Once you see trading as math, risk, reward, consistency, expectancy, the pressure kind of lifts off because you finally understand why the pros last in this game. And listen, you can master your strategy, you can master psychology, and you can even master the math. But if you stop here, you're still missing the key that decides whether all of this is gonna stick. This is where everything is gonna come together. People always ask, Anthony, why do so many traders fail even when they've got the right strategies, the right risk rules, and psychology figured out? My answer is simple, because they never actually master it themselves. Look, you can have the cleanest strategy in the world. You can know exactly where to enter, where to exit, and how much to risk. But if you haven't mastered you, your discipline, your patience, your ability to sit and wait, then none of that matters. You're still sabotaging yourself. I did it for years. I thought more knowledge was the answer, but the real answer was learning how to control myself in the moment. Here's the truth. You can retake prop firm challenges 100 times. You can keep reloading accounts, but until you build the discipline to actually sit on your hands and do nothing until the market gives you exactly what you're looking for, you won't get anywhere. That was my biggest lesson. Realizing that not trading is just as much of a decision as trading is. This is where identity shows up, but not as a buzzword. It's about the small choices that prove who you are as a trader. Do you click in just because you're bored? Or do you wait because your plan says wait? Do you chase a candle just to feel like you're in the action? Or do you remind yourself that the only job is to execute your edge when it appears? That's what separates people who dabble from people who last. It's not sexy, but simplicity is power. One market, one strategy, one way of managing risk. When you cut everything else away, you finally see the truth. Trading isn't about finding more opportunities, it's about protecting the right ones. And the only way that works is if you've mastered yourself enough to say no 100 times before you finally say yes. Here's the final punch. It's not the market you're fighting, it's you. Until you win that battle, none of this will stick. But once you do, the rest will become automatic. Remember the 3 habits that will wreck you if you let them? No edge, chasing money, and ignoring the math? But mastering yourself is the habit that locks all of your good habits in place and prevents the bad ones from forming to begin with. When you've built the discipline to wait and the patience to keep it simple and the identity of a trader who actually follows through, you finally give yourself a real shot at this game. And if you want to see how I turned that lesson into daily routines and systems that kept me consistent for years, then don't stop here. Click on that next video because that's where I lay it all out. If you've made it this far, you owe it to yourself to at least take the next step.